I don't think that you can do a map of the race to 270 without Pennsylvania. So I want to get to the state overall, but let's talk about your race first and foremost, just to give people a sense of where the congressional district is. Like you guys are, would you say it's fair to say like a Philly suburb district? Is that a fair geographical description?
Yeah, so it's its own unique identity, the Lehigh Valley, but it is an hour north of Philadelphia.
Okay. So when we hear about issues like fracking and energy, is that a big deal where you guys live, or is that more of a Western PA issue?
It's definitely much more of a Western Pennsylvania issue, but at the same time, we do have companies here in the Lehigh Valley who do contribute parts and components to the fracking industry. So it's a benefit for all of Pennsylvania.
All right. So what would be, like, say, the top three issues in the Lehigh Valley that voters talk to you about?
Yeah, no doubt, far and away, the number one issue is inflation and cost of living. People are really struggling under the high prices that have been brought on by all of the inflationary spending coming out of Washington, D.C. from Joe Biden and my opponent, Susan Wild. Far and away, number one issue, not even a contest. The second most important issue that people are talking about is illegal immigration. We see the negative consequences of all of their decisions. The drugs, the crime, everything coming into to our state is a direct result of their decisions. And, you know, the other issues are crime, quality of life, all of those things that play into the day-to-day decisions and lives of working families, seniors, everybody right here in our community.
All right. So for people who are trying to understand the Lehigh Valley in Pennsylvania, when you talk about those issues, the economy and immigration in particular, when you talk to voters, and I get you're running for Congress, you want people to vote for you, not Susan Wild, the member of Congress there. But when you talk about those issues in particular, the economy, inflation, immigration, who do voters blame and why?
Yeah, so look, I think everything on the economy is very polarized nowadays. So you have your bases on both sides feeling like their team is making the better decisions. But those people that are undecided or in the middle, those swing voters, they are feeling the pinch and they know that it's the people that are in charge right now. So they do place the blame on Joe Biden and Susan Wild. They're looking for change. They're looking for a new direction. And so, as a state representative, I offer that track record to those voters, somebody who has passed balanced budgets here in the state, somebody who's been fiscally responsible, and somebody who actually wants to go to Washington, make a difference, and be pragmatic in those decisions. And so, we're getting a great response everywhere we go. And again, these are the types of issues that affect everybody, regardless of your race, your socioeconomic class, your gender, doesn't matter. Everybody is feeling the bite of those high prices. And they know that it's the people in power and the people that are in Washington now who have made those decisions that are impacting them negatively.
All right. I want to pick up on something that you said, and I don't know, and I'm not trying to be cute about this, but it's just interesting because in a perfect world, I think this is what Kamala Harris wants. When asked who to blame, you said Joe Biden and Susan Wild. Susan Wild, obviously the incumbent member of Congress. Was it a slip of the tongue that you didn't said Kamala Harris? Because I think that's what she wants. She wants people, Kamala Harris wants to blame Joe Biden and be like, I don't know who, it's his fault, not mine. I'm only the VP. Is that what voters are they blaming Biden, giving Kamala Harris a pass? Or are we, because to me, this issue of how do we tie her to Biden, who's her partner, is critical. So when you talk to Pennsylvania voters, are they associating Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, or are they just saying, hey, Joe Biden's the president, it's his fault?
Yeah, so I think, you know, you have to separate two things, in my opinion. I mean, one, on the policy front, we know that she's been a partner with Joe Biden and a supporter of every single one of these issues. At the same time, she was largely irrelevant. She played such a minor role in this administration. She liked to take credit for everything, but she actually never got anything done or accomplished. So it's kind of that catch situation there with her of such irrelevance, but at the same time, a cheerleader for all of those Joe Biden policies. Now, politically, you're correct. She is trying to be the change agent. She is trying to say, well, I'm the one who's going to do something different. But at every step of the way that she goes down this campaign path, she's saying that she's going to basically do the exact same thing as Joe Biden and that you need to elect her because now she's going to do something different. Yet she hasn't presented actually any new ideas that would help people. Every new idea that she has presented would only make things worse. So it's really an odd situation we have. I mean, we all know it is something unique here where we have a new candidate parachuting in with no votes, no primary at the last minute. And, I think that's what the Democrats wanted. They wanted a blank slate. And that's what they're trying to do here. They're trying to craft an image for her, even though she's been there with Joe Biden for Bidenomics every step of the way.
Yeah, by not having to go through a primary, Kamala Harris didn't have to account for any of her crazy statements when she ran and was pushed out the first time in 2019. And to your point, she's been able to be a blank slate. Tell me who you want me to be, who the audience is, and I'll tell you, and I'll be that person. But let's just play this out for a second. Fracking, obviously, as you said, plays bigger in Western PA. Donald Trump calls you and says, Ryan, you're a state rep. You know the district. You've been a businessman. Your family's been there for generations. What should I say, pro me or anti her, in the Lehigh Valley to bring persuadable voters over to my side? And he wants your advice. What do you tell him?
Yeah, I think the case is very clear for Donald Trump. There were 4 years of economic prosperity during his tenure. We had a closed and secure border, and there was less chaos around the world. That is a track record. He has a record that he can put up against these last 4 years of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. The contrast couldn't be more clear. He just needs to make that case on policy, and I think he is doing it. He's doing it well. This is a swing area here in the Lehigh Valley. And in our most recent polling, he was up by 2 points. So it's going to be a close race. We know it's going to be extremely close. So there is just that small group of persuadable voters out there. And he's making the case. I think he's doing it effectively. And again, that's why he has a 2-point lead right here in the Lehigh Valley right now.
So what's changed, if anything, between 2020 and now in your area in particular?
Yeah, so I mean, 2 things. One is I think the media in 2020 had a lot of people convinced that Donald Trump was in some way a terrible president and bad on all of these different issues. Some people, who tune in only every 4 years, I think bought that messaging from the media, unfortunately. But now, with their own eyes, they have seen how great things were during his presidency and how disastrous they are during Joe Biden's presidency. So it's that classic case of, you don't want me to believe my lying eyes. I think people right here in the Lehigh Valley have understood now that the media was working against them, the American people, Donald Trump, and they see that the things were better under Donald Trump's presidency. And they're saying, you know what, we actually like that path that we were on. And so we're willing to go back to that.
It's funny when you have someone like you on, and our audience obviously watches from all over the country, and you go, okay, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, why do I care about a congressional race in Pennsylvania? The thing that's interesting statistically is that district has voted for the Electoral College winner the past 4 elections, right? So you're saying it's a point 2. You guys you guys literally are the epitome of a swing district in a swing state. Is it your belief that as your race goes, so goes the race for president?
I would think so. As you pointed out, the track record here is one that we are following that pattern at the presidential level. And it's because this district, the Greater Lehigh Valley, is a microcosm of the entire country. We have suburban areas, we have rural areas, we have downtown urban cores. At the same time, everybody has a mix of jobs here in the area, a very diversified economy with manufacturing, healthcare, logistics, all kinds of things that we see across the rest of the country. So again, a microcosm of the country, and we have one of the major swing counties in Pennsylvania, Northampton County, that everybody has identified from past presidential elections as one of those bellwether counties. And so really everything that you think of in a swing state is right here in this swing district.
If Donald Trump wins, do you win?
Absolutely. Not a question.
What about the reverse? Do you think you can run ahead of him?
Yeah, so there is a small path forward. Being a state representative, I have a track record with voters, especially swing voters that are not going to look at the partisan polarization in an election like this. They're going to want somebody that they can trust, somebody that they know is going to do the right thing for them. And so, because of that base, because of that experience and that connection to voters, I will outperform in certain areas. And so there is that path forward, even if Donald Trump is not winning this district, that I can get over 50%. So we're very confident of where we are today. Susan Wild has been there every step of the way for this disastrous policy on economics and the border, everything else. And so again, right now, voters in this area are supporting Donald Trump, and they're saying that we want to change in our representative as well.
How did Susan Wild want to campaign with Joe Biden at all, or was she one of these Democrats that ran from him?
Yeah, so it's funny. There's an interview that she did on CNN where she was asked if she supported Joe Biden very reluctantly, very quietly. She answered yes, that she was going to be supporting him. And then it came to light subsequently after that. She was one of those people that was pushing him out the door. She was caught on a conference call saying as much with her House Democratic colleagues that they needed to get him off the ticket. And so she was pushing him out the back door. So not surprising from somebody like Susan Wild that she would say one thing, do another. That's what she does on policy all the time, and that's what she was doing here with her politics as well.
And is she now like a big Kamala supporter?
She has not actually stepped out, I would assume. I mean, they have the same disastrous policy positions. Susan Wild is far left on every single thing, but she is ducking and hiding here as well. When she was asked if she was going to the DNC convention just days before the convention, she couldn't even answer and tell the media, the local media, what her policy or what her plans were for that convention. So all of a sudden, though, she was caught on camera at the DNC. So she's trying to have it both ways on everything. That's what she does all the time, though.
So it's basically a dead even district, right? You're a state rep. So, I mean, you've got a lot of name ID. You're well known. Your family's been established in that district as a job creator. What is the key then for someone like you to just put it over the top and win this race?
Yeah, so look, I think, again, our path is very clear. We have to create that clear contrast and alternative to Susan Wild. She has very high negatives. People are not happy with her, not only on policy, but also constituent services, which we know is a big part of a job as an elected representative. And so people are not happy. At the same time, we need to be the credible alternative to her. Because you can't beat somebody with nobody, right? We all know that. And so making sure that people across the district, not just in my state house seat, know that I stand for fiscal responsibility, a closed and secure border, reining in the forever wars and wasteful spending that we've seen over the years on those foreign entanglements. That is what people are looking for. I have that track record as a state representative on a lot of those issues and actually getting things done in a bipartisan fashion. So I talk about how I wrote the law to expand E-Verify here in Pennsylvania. That resonates with everybody who is interested in the issue of illegal immigration. On fiscal conservative issues, I passed legislation that would actually close corporate tax loopholes and then take that revenue from that and give it to expanding and eliminating the inheritance tax for family-owned small businesses. So actually giving real relief to small businesses and families here in our district. Those are the types of things I've done for years, and that's what we need more of at the federal level as well.
For those who aren't necessarily familiar, E-Verify is this program that you basically run a potential employee through the system to prove that they're a citizen, right?
That's correct.
Why in Pennsylvania, when you dealt with this, was there any opposition from the business community?
So there was a little bit of hesitancy. Ultimately, we did get all of our Republican colleagues on board. The business community was concerned about, was it more regulation? Was it going to be onerous? But that system has been in place now for a long time. And so what we saw in the construction industry, particularly for this legislation, was that both union and non-union stakeholders were getting undercut by illegal immigrants who were coming in, taking American jobs, underbidding for those jobs, and then taking the American jobs, also suppressing American wages. And so there was some crossover support for that kind of expansion. Now, the far left, the open borders crowd, they were hair on fire opposed to this legislation. And so ultimately, we had to craft veto-proof supermajorities in the House and Senate to actually get it past our governor, former governor, Tom Wolf, who said openly that he was going to veto that legislation if it got to his desk. Thankfully, we had those majorities, and so we were able to get it done against his wishes there.
Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.